Jimmy Fulp, man, what's going on?
Man, just good to be here.
Good to have you.
I'm a fan of the show, and it's good to be a part of it.
That's the only reason why we invited you.
Absolutely.
No,
Absolutely.
it is cool. Like just off mic, I was talking about how sometimes it's weird. I meet someone for the first time, 5 minutes later, then we're getting his life or his life story. But now I've met you several times.
Yeah.
We had lunch. You've come up to the studio and hung out with me, and we have the same interests as far as being producers. So it's been cool now having you in. We're excited.
I've enjoyed it, man. Yeah, good to be here.
And you're a pretty good drummer too.
He's all right. Did you bring your Joshine scalp moisturizer?
Funny story. So before I left, Donna, I didn't even put two and two together. She was like, "Hey, you need to go upstairs and put some cocoa butter." So I smell like cocoa butter now.
Is that what I smell?
Yeah,
that's great.
Can we explain to someone, like anyone that's just now tuning into this podcast, they have no idea what Joshine is? Do you have an elevator pitch of?
They just need to go back and watch Josh's episode.
Josh is a proponent of being properly moisturized.
Yeah. And we need Davey on now. Davey Smith, is that his name?
Yep. Yeah. He's booked.
Oh, he is now.
He's booked now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I can't keep up with Jeff and the calendar. I can't keep up with
machine.
Yeah. He's like, I see bookings come up into our calendar for like June and July. I was like, damn, man.
Well, your wife is supposed to get Doug Aldrich in here still.
Yeah.
Oh, let's do that. Yeah.
I'll have to lock her up that day. Make sure she doesn't get down here.
We'll give her a free sticker.
Hell, I'll give her a T-shirt.
Oh, wait a minute. What's that? That's the record.
Nice.
2.5 minutes into the show, and I play a sound.
There
you go. It's a good deal.
I like it.
So, man, obviously we're here to, get to know Jimmy Fulp more. On your Facebook page, it says you're from South Haven,
right?
But there's an Ohio situation there.
Yeah, so I was originally from, it's just northeast of Indianapolis. It's called Anderson, Indiana.
Uh-huh.
Was born there. Dad was in a band, the Jive Five. They played Charlie Pride to Deep Purple, right? It was they just played everything.
Cool.
I'd be at home with a babysitter. Mom's at the gig with Dad. She'd come home and grab me when I was probably 4, sneak me in the back, and I would get up and sing with my dad's band, and then they'd rush me out.
At 4 years old?
At 4 or 5, yeah.
Wow.
I would do You've Lost That Loving Feeling and
cool.
Some Kind of Wonderful.
Now, when you're singing, You Lost That Loving Feeling, do you know what that means?
Absolutely
At 4
not.
years old?
I still don't.
Love and feeling.
Oh, that. But but people would run up and hand me money, at the end of the thing. And
the snake bit.
Oh, yeah. I went and I bought my first big wheel with my own money from singing. So
I used to have a big wheel.
Yeah.
My cousin had the better big wheel. It was the Dukes of Hazzard and it had a little handbrake.
Oh, yeah. I remember
that little plastic handbrake. I didn't have that. So he would do all these cool tricks and I would just fly through the woods, hit a tree.
That's fine. But yeah, we moved to northern Kentucky. My dad's job moved. So just south of Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yep.
So it's kind of where the Ohio thing comes in. I was playing in bands. I was playing guitar in country rock bands at the time. And, I was a fan of Warrant, Poison, all that stuff. So saw an ad for the band Play Rough. They were from southeastern Ohio, Columbus, Ohio area was probably the closest town.
Right.
Auditioned for them, moved out, and we hit the road for a little while. And then,
what year was that around?
That was 90, 91. Right.
90,
and we moved to Memphis in 92.
Okay.
Yeah. Just in time, right? For the grunge to come in.
Oh, yeah. Wipe us out. And
so Play Rough never did any shows here?
We did. When we traveled,
okay.
Memphis was one of our stops.
Okay.
So we'd been here a couple of times. And then we actually moved here because people were wanted to hear original music.
Sure.
And we were done with the 6 night a week cover playing Slaughter, right? So we were like, let's get off the road. Let's concentrate on original music and Nirvana.
Yeah. It's pretty much a one-word thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing theme with a lot of our guests.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because it's so across the board. Everyone is that age. The core Memphis group here are at that same age where you guys got hit, right?
Yeah.
At that awful time, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's rare that we have someone in here that, man, I toured all through the 80s and then the grunge.
Right.
It seems like a lot of the stories we get in here is like, man, we were on the cusp, we were just got signed
and
gone, So like Memphis, the average age in Memphis for the classic, rock bands in town, it just seemed like the whole generation was just off by like 3 or 4 years.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There were a lot of good bands around that. Just missed it.
Yeah, just missed it.
Just missed it.
Yeah.
Now, when I met with you for lunch, we talked about Stage Stop.
Yeah.
And I'd like to learn more about, the history of Stage Stop, because I know you really love the place. And a lot of history there. So is there anything you'd like to talk about? Any fun stories from Stage Stop?
Oh, gosh. Funny. I don't know if this is, I won't say it's funny but met my wife there, and we're still, we're married 20 plus years later, so.
Donna? Her name?
Donna. Yep.
You gotta say her name.
Donna Fulp. She's a big fan of the show too. So.
Yeah. You gotta remember your wife's name and remember to announce your bass player's name.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember?
Got it.
That's an inside joke with Fever Tree.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Rocco was like, "Really?
Yeah.
Come on, man."
The last 2.5 minutes of the show.
But yeah, Stage Stop was great. We played there when we were on the, it was part of our circuit, and just a cool history there. You walk in, the pictures that were on the wall, you're like, "Whoa, man! These people played here."
Yep.
So
all the signs.
What
symbols.
happened? Did the owners sell out or move off? Or
I mean, if I had to guess, it's just because of the area declined. It just was not. I mean, really I don't know that that's the reason, but I mean, it's just not a great area anymore.
When did it close down?
Oh gosh,
3 years now, 4 years. Roughly?
At least 4, I would think. Yeah.
Okay.
Was that a sad day?
Yeah, it was kind of, I think we kind of saw it heading that way. It was under new ownership or management at some point.
Yeah.
And it just, wasn't the same.
And just
when Nita Macris.
Were they still pretty steady with bands up till the end, or?
I believe, it was more weekends but I mean, man, when we were touring, when we were coming here, and even when we moved here, it was 6 nights a week, live music.
Good old days. I wish it was like that.
$3.99 steak or shrimp on
steak or
Sunday.
shrimp.
Steak or shrimp.
Man,
$3.99 steak or shrimp.
Yeah, that southern accent rang out there. Steak or shrimp.
Steak or shrimp. Dude, it was good.
$4 for steak and shrimp, man.
Yeah, Nita, she took care of us, man. She, made it easy for us to eat. Yep.
So how old were you when you started playing drums? Oh, you mentioned guitar, and I wanted to talk about guitar. What was first?
Drums. Drums was first. I would go to my dad's rehearsals with his band, and I'd see his drummer, Jim Surface, if he's watching out there. Hey, Jim.
Awesome.
And I was just fixated on the drums. So when I was around 4, they bought me a drum kit, and I don't know if I was playing, but I think I was keeping time.
Right.
So I knew I could do it, but it wasn't until I got into maybe 6th, 7th grade. What is that, like 11, 12 maybe? Is that right?
Yeah, when you're well seasoned.
Yeah, well seasoned from the pots and pans. And I got behind a drum kit and was like, oh wow, I can do this, because I'd been air drumming, I guess.
Right.
And so then around like 15 or so, I wanted to be George Lynch.
Is George Lynch your guy?
He's great. He's him, Warren DeMartini. I like all those 80s shredders guys.
Yeah.
So,
how about drummers? Who do you?
Drummers, man, it's funny, man. I love the earliest things that I was in was Peter Criss from Kiss, John Bonham, Ringo. I love Bunny Carlos, Phil Rudd from AC/DC, and those are all the guys that are kind of you think it's easy, right? But it's a feel thing, man.
Phil Rudd is awesome.
Oh yeah. And as I got older, I discovered Stuart Copeland, Neil Peart, and I can't play like that, but I can sure appreciate it.
Phil Rudd brings the heat without hitting a tom.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to, and when he does, it fucking means something.
Yeah.
It's
That's
great.
right.
Yeah, AC/DC. We could talk forever about them. Man. But
those were the the influences, I think, on me.
Now, I know, like, you're a big Kiss fan. You bring up Peter, Chris, and you and I have talked about this podcast. You're supposed to start. We got to get on this. But part of it is you were kind of thinking about doing like a Kiss podcast. And is it just when you saw the band or an album cover? Or what was it that so many stories about Kiss just comes up and is going to come up forever and ever and ever about being a huge influence? You know?
I was 5, and my sisters, I had 2 older sisters, and they had the 45 of Detroit Rock City. So I heard it and was like, wow, that's cool, you know, because it's the story about and then the crash at the end. And I was like, this is great. And they're like, oh, well, check this out. This is what they look like, you know, and I'm 5, right?
Kaboom.
Whoa, like, this is cool, you know? Yeah. So, you know, then I guess later that year, Rock and Roll Over came out. It was like 76. I just turned 6 years old. I'm across the street playing with a friend, and my mom and dad are like, hey, we got something for you. And they came home and brought
nice parents
Rock and Roll Over home. Yeah. And to this day, that's probably my favorite. I don't know if it's because of the time, right? Like, that's my first Kiss record, or if it just stands up, you know, to this day.
You packed a lot in the first 6 years of your life, so
that's a lot.
Singing on stage, playing drums, finds his favorite band.
You think, yeah. Anyway,
singing "Lost That Love and Feeling."
Right. Still haven't figured that one out.
Well, you know, Sean, I think it was that. I don't know if he texted me or if I saw something on Facebook.
Sean Few.
Yeah, Sean Few said something about wanting to do 30-minute Kiss. Did you see this? I thought that was awesome.
Dude,
just play
30-minute Kiss.
30-minute Kiss. Like, we go in,
play a song.
Let's say it's the 3 of us and Sean, right? I'm just planting the seed for everybody out there.
No.
And we draw a song, Kiss song, and we've got 30 minutes to work it up to record it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and no matter how it turns out, it might be a song you've heard 1,000 times and it turns out really good, or it might be a song you've heard once and it may suck, but who cares?
That's awesome.
And there's cameras, you know, you put a few cameras in the room.
It'll just be you two?
You guys.
Hell, I'll do it.
I'll learn.
I'll do it.
I've all of a sudden become a huge Kiss fan.
If we pull out a song from 80s Kiss, I'll be in good shape. You pull out some shit from before that, and I'm going to be terrible.
Jimmy, if you're calling me to come and record with you in the studio, I'd play polka.
Yeah.
You know,
whatever.
You know, when you speed up polka, it's Slipknot. It's blast beats.
Oh, wow.
If you ever, pull up an old Slayer song, a Slipknot, where it's like, fast
and slow it down.
Blast beat, slow it down. It's polka. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
All right. This train derailed in a hurry.
That's all right.
All right. So we talked about Play Rough. I want to talk about your time in Fifth Kind.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay.
Because that band, there's not a person in the Memphis music scene that doesn't know who that was and who the members were. And I know that you got Pete Mendillo's blessing to take over for him when he left.
Right.
Well, who were the other guys, for those that don't know?
It was John Roth, Jeff Adams, Corey Myers, Kerry Bedour, and Pete Mendillo, and then Jimmy Fulp.
Yep.
So, tell us about your time in that outfit.
My wife, Donna, and I, we would go to see them play, like, every time they would play.
Sure.
So we were... Just like we're fans of the show, we're loyal fans, right? We would go see Fifth Kind all the time.
Sure.
And, you know, Pete decided he wanted to move on. And they had a gig booked on a Wednesday at Dan McGinnis. So I get a call from Corey on like Friday before, hey man, can you play with us Wednesday night? And I'm like,
those are always fun.
Play with Fifth Kind with no rehearsal on Wednesday night.
Yeah, they're not playing Sweet Home Alabama.
No. And I was stupid enough to say, yeah, man, sure. You know, and so I crammed all weekend and did the gig. And it's funny too, because I tell this story. Man, I told it to a friend of mine that was a baseball coach with me. I coached my son's baseball back in the day. Huge baseball fan.
Yep.
And
go Cubs.
Go Dodgers. As long as we can both hate the Astros.
I know. We do. We do. I'm good with that.
But I forgot where I was at. Anyway,
you were 5 years old. And you just started
5 years
playing
old, and
the flute.
5 years old. I met John Roth, and no. So we're playing, and so I was explaining to this guy he's a baseball fan too. I was like, man, it's like I was watching the All-Star game one year, and Prince Fielder's playing first base. Ball gets hit to Derek Jeter, and he's doing Derek Jeter things, right? Like backhanding and throwing. And Prince Fielder just sits there and the ball goes by him because he forgets what he's doing because he's watching Derek Jeter, right? He's supposed to be catching the ball.
Right.
That's what it felt like.
I'm sure.
I'm looking at 4 Derek Jeters going, what the hell am I doing here, man?
Dude,
you know? It was insane. And those guys, John, of course, John's with Winger and Starship, plays with Giant. Jeff's with Starship, and a lot of other people. Corey just played with Tom Kiefer, and Kerry Bedour is just
amazing.
He's on another level.
What does he play?
Keyboards.
He's the keyboard player.
Yeah, he's a mad scientist and just nails the sounds, but also he can play, but he also just nails the sounds.
Right.
It's great.
Yeah. Well, you belonged there, or they wouldn't have brought you on. So don't sell yourself short. I saw a couple of performances with them, and you were nothing short of spectacular.
Wow, I appreciate it.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
Speaking of Pete, I don't know if you, you're a fan of the show. You probably heard the story about when he auditioned for Survivor.
Yeah.
He was starstruck. He was nervous. He was all tense. And he said he started singing like Popeye to break the ice, and to chill the moment down.
You know what's funny about that? I'll mention it now since that got brought up. I was gonna say, man, can I tell you my Jimmy Jameson audition story?
Right.
Well, it didn't happen. So Jeff Adams, bass player, was with Jimmy, and Jeff Miller was the guitar player, and they came to my apartment at the time, and they were like, hey, we're looking for a drummer. Would you come try out? And at first I'm like, yeah. And they're like, cool, we're going to Germany. So I knew I had to get on a plane, and I was too chicken shit to get on a plane. You can believe that.
Really? I can believe that, actually.
Skipped out on...
I hate flying.
On plane with them.
That's crazy.
But I mean, you fly now, right?
Oh, yeah.
I've seen trips on your Facebook.
Absolutely. But back then I was like,
wow.
What was I thinking?
Yeah.
No, a flight to Europe is different.
Right.
I've been to Austria twice.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And it's I had a blast. Flying is fine. Those big jumbo jets are a little better than the Southwest planes. We'll just say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that must have been that, how soon did you regret that decision?
Oh my! Immediately, I was just like, "What am I doing, man? Take a Xanax and get on the flight." You know what I mean? Like, just chill.
Yeah.
But I didn't. So
it is what it is.
Yeah.
Well, you've played with some pretty amazing musicians just from the fifth kind aspect of it.
Sure, absolutely.
And then now you're playing with a bunch of hacks. With 6 Feet Thunder, right?
Absolutely. Some moisturized hacks.
Moisturizing highlighters.
6 Feet Thunder. And I'm gonna save you because we don't want you to forget anybody. I'm gonna protect you.
Thank you.
We got Jimmy Fulp, Mark Holt on vocals, Josh Haynes on guitar, Sean Few on bass, Scott Sudbury on guitar as well, and all of them, all 5 killer singers.
Oh yeah.
It's incredible how much. That's what I love. I love all the playing that I'm getting to experience with all the bands, but the vocal ability, the voices in this town are
there's
great.
A lot. Yep. And one other person too, like when Scott can't make it, we get Seth Kirkendall
from formerly known as.
Yeah, he'll play too.
And
he's awesome.
Where did he come from?
Man, you tell me. That guy
just shows up on the scene, killing it.
I know Sean's got him and Jacob. I know the other guy's good too, but he's got these 2 young guys that just come out of nowhere.
Yeah. Julian is a great player as well. We don't want to sell him short, and he's been around the same. I know who Julian is,
right?
But Seth, I'm like, I don't even. Where did this guy come from?
Sean was like, he called me one day and was like, man, this guy just auditioned for the band, and I think this is his first band.
Yeah,
and he just played. He's great. Yeah, he's a great guitar player.
First band. That's crazy.
And you also did a stint with an amazing late 80s, early 90s band, Roxy Blue.
Yeah. Yep.
That is a cool gig for a drummer to get.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's I was friends with Scott Trammell, friends with the guys. They were actually when we were playing here, part of the reason for Play Rough to move here was because we met Todd.
Okay.
And they had just gotten signed to Geffen,
Mhm.
and Todd walked in like he owned the place, man. And we were like, "Who's that guy?"
Right.
Because something's going on.
Sure.
And we hooked up with him, and we ended up moving here. So been friends with him for a long time, and got to meet the band. And Scotty wanted to step away,
Right.
and I had just recorded the Frontiers record that they put out. So I co-produced with Todd, and so it was Jeff Cochran, Josh Weil, and Todd doing the vocals and some guitar, and then we flew everything to Scotty, and he cut the drums on that. So and it's funny, man. Funny how it came out. My wife and I were in California just on a trip because we travel all the time, as we just said a second ago.
Right.
And we were looking at a local local magazine, and the Ricky Nelson tribute, the Nelson brothers, and was in Palos Verdes, and that's where we were at.
Okay.
Well, I was like, I'll bet Scotty's with them. And sure enough, I got a hold of him. He's like, yeah, man, come on down. So I got to hang out with him.
That's cool.
The next day, I get an email from Frontiers Records out of the blue asking if Roxy Blue wanted to do a record for the label.
Wow.
And I'm like, funny, happy accident, right? I'm not the drummer, but I'm recording with Todd. I'm sure we can get the rest of the guys on board. We can make this thing happen. So, and so then just kind of, moving forward into like early 2020 is when that kind of happened, that I was kind of filling in a little bit, and then it just became a permanent thing. Yeah.
Well, that had to be cool playing those tunes.
Yeah, it was fun.
I just like Tora and Every Mother's Nightmare. I wore that CD out for many years. So a lot of great songs on the first album.
It is a good record, man. Want Some. Yeah.
Want Some. Yep. Great album.
I'm interested in learning more about your producing history.
Yeah.
Like, when did that start? When you were 7?
Like 5.5.
That was good.
It'd be funny if he's like, it's good because you're right.
No. When I was I grew up in this northern Kentucky, like a small town in northern Kentucky. I was one of the few guys with long hair that played music and stuff. So I ended up getting a 4-track, like a little Tascam Porta 5.
Oh, yeah. I remember those.
And I would just, so my reason for learning other instruments was because I had to get these, because I like to write, I like to record. So to get those ideas out, I had to kind of learn what to do. So it all started with that, with the Porta 5 and 4 tracks on cassette. And then that just evolved into it was an 8-track, right, on cassette.
Right.
It was
nice.
It was like, wow, we got 8 tracks now. Yeah. And then, slowly over time, the whole DAW thing with, Pro Tools, and started learning that. And really just working with other producers, Skid Mills in particular, just kind of watching what they do and how they take a song or an artist and just try to make it better, right? Yeah. That really started to appeal to me as I kind of got out of the, of course I wanted to be a rock star, right? But as I kind of got out of that demographic, this is a way for me to still, whatever you call it, give back or be involved, so
be in the mix, totally be creative and play music.
Yeah. So that kind of started in high school.
And we know that you've worked with the Fast Mothers.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You've done 3 or 4?
4. We just did the 4th. Yeah. It's fun, man. It's like, every it's not like there's a set process, for each band or each person that I'm working with. But when the Fast Mothers come in, every time we just work the same way. Yeah. And we know what to expect now, and and they're fun, man.
Well, when there's a 5th, I'd like to be able to come in and watch that process.
Yeah.
I definitely want to come in and hang out and see that happen.
Yeah, man. It's I love the whole process of, and especially when you hit something, you go, oh yeah, that's what we need to do there, right?
Or how live are they in there? Is it heavily overdubbed? What's the vibe? Because when you listen to the music, it sounds organic,
and that's what we try to do. We don't overdo it, but we do. So when we first go in, like the first day, it's a click track, bass, 2 electric guitars, just kind of direct in through like a modeler thing, and Tracy singing, no drums.
Okay.
And
really,
yeah, it's just it just works, right?
Interesting,
for that band.
Uh-huh.
And so we find the right tempo. We make sure it feels good. We spend the night doing that with like 6 songs.
Yeah.
And then the next day or whatever, like maybe it's a Saturday and a Sunday, Chris would come in and cut his drums.
Interesting.
And then we just add, everything, and then bring Tracy in to,
wow.
Is
that something Chris Rubel preferred?
No, we did it on the first one. I don't know how it happened.
Yeah.
I think I was just trying to, I hadn't heard the songs yet the first time we worked.
Right.
So I was just kind of, hey man, let's just play it, find the right tempo. And then they were like, I remember Chris was kind of like, man, that'll be cool to cut tracks to this, because it's like I've got the whole band playing.
Right.
So,
and then you would
we go back and
record everything.
Yeah.
I think that's John Patterson was explaining their recording process for their new single, Muddy Jesus, that way. That's how they did it.
Yeah.
When you find it and it works, stick with it.
Yeah.
And the Fast Mothers have put out some great material.
Oh, yeah.
They're hugely popular local original band.
Are they coming in totally rehearsed and they got the songs down?
Absolutely. Yep. To where, like, with a lot of the other stuff that I'm doing, it'll just be an idea, at the beginning, and your total scratch guitar, horrible vocal or something, you know what I mean? But then you start building and, turn it into the final product. But it usually doesn't sound anything like what it started as. So,
So like, obviously you're part engineer, so you're handling all the mics and placement and trying to get sounds. But then on top of that, if you hear like, man, I think a tambourine would go good there or something, that's where you come in too, right?
Absolutely.
And then you go to the band and say, hey, I got this idea and pitch it to them. Is that how that works?
Percussion, or if it might even be it might even be something like, hey, on the guitar, can you try something like this or whatever? I'll suggest it. They don't have to take it. But the cool thing with the Fast Mothers is over time you build that trust, and so now, and I feel more comfortable now too with them when they come in. It's nothing to go, hey, let's try this,
right?
So we had a lot of fun on the last one.
Are they the band you've worked with the most?
I would think so. Yeah. That and of course the Roxy stuff and recording stuff with Todd, 714.
I was going to bring up 714.
I totally it just came into
that's and I'm jumping around here band wise, but I thought about 714 and wanted to mention that too because that was another Todd Poole, Jimmy Fulp band, and I don't know who the other members were. Was Chris Turnbow?
Chris Turnbow, and Matt Dees.
Okay,
that was kind of that when there was a previous incarnation of that too, but when I was there, that was kind of the stable.
That's another star-studded lineup of players.
That was a good band.
Yeah,
man.
That was good stuff.
It was fun.
Here's a star-studded lineup. So we can't. I'd be remiss if we didn't bring this up.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. So I play this because Jimmy Fulp and our friend Sean Few recorded, written, produced this, and were nice enough to give it to us.
Yeah,
absolutely.
To be our new theme song. So this is great. We have one of the authors with us, Jeff.
Yeah.
That's you playing drums. What's crazy is they recorded this when he was 10. I'm never going to stop.
No. Oh, you hit the wrong button.
That's what she said.
Shut up, Mike.
Shut up,
That's
Mike.
to you. Shut up, Mike.
I'm not talking. You are.
So tell us how this started, because there's a story behind this song.
Yes. So me, Sean, Mark Holt, and Jason Latshaw was involved too, from a production standpoint.
I didn't realize Mark was involved. You guys, Sean left him out. So sorry, Mark.
But we were working on some stuff with a few things at that time. One of the things was we were writing some songs to see if Olivia might be interested in some stuff. So we were getting her to sing on some demos, see if anything took flight.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, so she was on a show called Kicking It, and her co-star, was it Leo Howard? I can't. Anyway, his dad, Todd Howard, had a show called World's Worst Tenants. And he would come in and evict people. It was a reality show.
I saw that show.
Yeah, it was on Spike.
I remember that show.
And
a show about a landlord kicking his tenants out.
yeah. So you call him. And so Sean wrote this as an intro for that to get pitched to it. And it was called Payday. Like, it talks about, hey, what's going on your property, and basically I can come in and take care of him for you, right?
Yeah.
And kick him out.
Yeah.
And we actually had
the muscle.
Sean saying it. He's like, I'll fanboy on him. He's like, he and I have like the mutual admiration society.
Oh, he's great.
For each other. And man, Sean sang a version of that and killed it.
Yeah. I'm not surprised.
And then Todd Howard also sang on it. But Todd's not a singer, but it was the celebrity part of it. So it still worked, but they ended up not using it.
And what year was this?
Oh my gosh. 2000 and maybe 8 or 9, somewhere around there.
Okay.
12, 13 years later.
Yeah.
And it's the sound of the Rhythm Section podcast, everybody.
Yeah. I hate to be selfish, but I'm kind of glad it didn't get used. We ended up with it.
Yeah, and the royalties you guys are getting from us, man.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
It's paying the rent.
Yeah.
Paying the rent.
You're going to take another vacation to Disneyland soon. Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, it's great. It was
fun.
It was really nice to get that message from Sean.
Yeah.
He reached out to Jeff first, and then he and I spoke, and then you and I connected on how to get the file, and I did some tweaking to it, and it's just the coolest, man, to have a homegrown song with our buddies here. It's pretty awesome.
It's good stuff.
So, man, let's talk about. I'm looking through my notes here, and the 6 Feet Thunder deal.
Mm-hmm.
That the name 6 Feet is because of COVID.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Sean came up with that. I think at first he was calling it 6 Feet Under, but then it was like
a little morbid.
Let's not, who's going to want to come see that?
What is this, death metal band?
So 6 Feet Under. 6 Feet Thunder. Oh, cool. So, yeah. And, it happened during COVID. First gig we did was at Neil's when things kind of started opening up. Still had to mask up and social distance and all that stuff. But, people had been cooped up and the place was packed. I don't think there were supposed to be that many people in there.
Well, most of us were like, I'm over it. Yeah. Let's just go do something.
And we just said, hey, let's keep doing this because we're all friends. We've been friends forever, and we're all in different bands. And we said, hey, let's take one night or 1 weekend a month and do this together as friends. So
well, like every guy in the lineup of 6 Feet Thunder are just nonstop playing among all these other well-known names. When 2020 hit and shut down, you guys must have been just itching and going nuts.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine Josh Haynes not gigging for 6-7 months, right?
I know it, man. It's for me it wasn't, I do love to play. I do. But being a drummer, I guess, and getting older, it takes its toll on you.
No question.
For 2 or 3 days later, you're like walking around. So I was cool with kind of being off, but again, I was ready to get out and play when we did. So
it's that way. I think with so many of us, you and I have been through it. We play for a while, and then we're like, okay, I'm over it. Let's take a break.
I mean, towards the end of 19, I was feeling burnt too.
Oh, wow.
And then, so 2020 hit, I was like, I'm fine.
Yeah,
I managed to do one weekend with Derek Joseph in the middle of June up in northern Wisconsin. Yeah. COVID didn't exist up there, right?
Right.
They didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
So we rolled up, had a good time. That's it.
Wow.
I was over it too. It was good for me. Gave me more time to focus on my business.
Yeah.
Less distraction,
Yeah. And we did the with Donnie Smith and a few of us would do these separate studios together.
I saw a couple of
Yes,
those.
we saw that.
And we did one where we did Detroit Rock City, and we
Yeah.
all dressed up as Kiss. It was
Very
it
cool.
was a blast.
There was a lot of cool stuff coming out on social media when everything really, at first, like I used to follow a lot of different people in Nashville, and they were all over the place with that. And then, I think everyone was just getting tired. And like, this is like, we're putting all this work into a song and getting like 8 likes. Let's,
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
Well, we've got to get to a 6 Feet Thunder show soon.
Yes.
Because that's one that we haven't seen yet. We saw formerly known as, and Jimmy.
Well, no, we saw 6 Feet Thunder without Scott.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And that was the night that the Fast Mothers were there. Oh, it was the night for Cricket.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. And that was the night that you guys let the Fast Mothers go up and play.
Yeah.
It kicked ass.
It was so fun.
We've got a photograph.
We got a photograph. Everyone's seen it now.
Dude,
and
Tracy's like, he's kissing the bicep. I love it.
So 10 minutes after the Fast Mothers set, I go to the restroom. And you were with him, right? It was you, right?
No,
it was Chris Rubel and Steve Owens, I believe. And I look, and Chris's right hand is all bloodied up. I'm like, what happened, man? He's like, man, I smashed my hand on Jimmy's toe, and I'm blood everywhere.
My Tom was up higher than he was.
And I'm like, that's why you're the heavy world champion. He's like, you're damn right.
That's right. That's
those
right.
hurt. It hurts.
Did you have blood splattered all over your drum?
Oh, yeah. He came up and he's like, man, I'm sorry about the blood on your drum head. Like, man, it's cool. It's
usually when people sit in, they're like, oh, he tweaked my ride stand, man. He messed with my snare placement. Dude. No, this guy came and bled all over your shit.
Bled on my floor tom.
They did sound so good though.
Yeah,
they have this. They have this really cool backbeat, like Blackberry Smoke kind of vibe to me.
Yep.
Yeah, and Black Crowes. That's another name that gets tossed around.
Yeah.
Them.
But you even said organic. You know, I've earlier when you talked about the sound or whatever, even though we overdubbed it, but that's a good word to describe what what they're doing. It's good.
So the name of your studio is Broken Snare Studio, right?
Yeah.
And how long have you been since living in Hernando been working with bands?
So it started we used to live in South Haven. Oh, sorry. Hey, there's a cable over there. It started in South Haven, and at our other house, I was upstairs there too.
Oh, okay.
And that was probably I don't want to say maybe 2011, 2012-ish, maybe somewhere around in there.
That's when you started
working with other people. I had the stuff there, and I would record like my ideas that nobody ever heard.
Right. And then back in your 4-track days.
Yeah. And I was like, man, I want to try working with other people and see what I can, if I can bring something to the table or whatever. And I did the 714, did a record called American Tragic. So we did that. Dave Cowell at Supernova mixed it for us. And
Supernova did Fever Tree's latest single.
Yeah.
Every Mother's Nightmare's latest stuff.
Yeah.
They're good.
The new Fever Tree song,
man,
sounds really good.
Yes, really good.
Really good. It sounds really good.
Yeah.
I know.
But and then when we built a new house, I knew I wanted to have a space, you know. And so we just kind of planned it. It's it's above the garage. It's a good little area to be creative, man. And, I get it's comfortable. That's the word I keep hearing is comfortable, right? And which is really
that's what you want. You want a vibe.
Yeah,
you don't want to walk into concrete walls and floors.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna throw a curveball here.
Okay.
I want to talk wrestling.
Oh man, yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because I'm learning that because this is Memphis, this is such a rich history of the territory years and everything.
Oh yeah.
And I know you and I briefly talked about the third podcast we're going to start for you, and that's talk about wrestling. And we got to get a
30-minute kiss.
We got to get Jerry Lawler in this room here.
Yeah, that's my goal. I want to do a podcast with Jerry Lawler,
and that'd be so much
Jerry,
fun.
if you're listening, come on.
I met Jerry Lawler through my job one time.
That's awesome.
Super nice guy. Yeah. He was great.
I'm sure.
I've got a couple funny wrestling stories.
Bring
Are,
it.
are we good
Bring
with
it.
this? I
Bring
don't
it.
want to. I
Come
don't want
on.
to like derail. But
No.
No,
Hopefully-
I brought it up.
Hopefully, y'all are enjoying this. My wife's Donna's mortified because she hates that I. So I grew up, like I said, it was northern Kentucky area, just south of Cincinnati. We would get the Memphis show a week later,
Oh, okay.
cut
Okay.
down to an hour. Well, I didn't know it was from Memphis though,
Okay.
because the show that y'all would get at the Mid-South Coliseum,
Right.
we would get at Lexington and Rupp Arena.
Okay.
So I'm thinking it's a Kentucky-based thing, right?
Right. They're just touring through the territory.
Yeah. So I would go, Thursday night.
The territory is Mid-South.
Yeah. And so grew up watching this stuff, and I end up moving to Memphis, and I'm watching the news, and the weather's on, and Dave Brown comes on.
Oh, so you were you didn't know what to do.
I'm sitting there with some people from Memphis. I was like, oh man, I grew up watching him on wrestling. And they're like, that's Dave Brown. He's the weatherman here. And they're like, you realize that's from Memphis, right? And so they ended up taking me to Saturday morning. Like this was like 91, 92.
That's awesome.
Or 92, yeah. And then years later, somehow Jerry Lawler had gotten a CD. I had a band called Bullet Theory too that I was the guitar player singer in, and it was kind of that 2000 post grunge kind of new metal thing.
That was during your more seasoned time as a 12-year-old.
Yeah, exactly. And 12 and a half. No.
Yeah.
Anyway, somehow Jerry had gotten a song that we had recorded called Knock You Down.
Okay.
And I get a phone call, and it's like, hey, Jimmy? I'm like, yeah. He's like, this is Jerry Lawler. And of course, you're thinking, okay, who is this? Right. Okay, Sean, right?
Pulling my leg.
You know what I mean? Or whoever. And then I'm talking. He was like, yeah, I got this CD, and it had your phone number on it. We're going to start a new, where we look at the vault of Memphis wrestling, and I want to see if we can use your song for the intro.
Sure.
And then I'm realizing, holy crap, this is real, right?
Yeah.
Like,
You're talking to the king,
man. And I was like, oh my God. So I was like, yeah. And man, immediately called my friend from high school going, dude, you're not going to believe, who I just talked to.
Right.
And anyway, it was just
nothing came of it.
Super cool. They used it as the opener for the show.
That's badass, man.
It was great, and I don't know if it was on for maybe 4 months or so.
Right.
They've tried to reboot that a few times over the years, but you turn it on, and it was like, oh my God. But my neighbor knew that I played music, and I'd given him a CD of the band. And one day we were outside, and he goes, "Man, do you watch wrestling by any chance?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Man, I was just watching this morning, and there's a song, and it sounds like you singing." I'm like, well, it is. It's me singing.
That's a trip.
It's just crazy how things can circle around like that.
Yeah, but dude, I was a huge wrestling fan growing up.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of got out of it,
Same here. Yeah.
And while I was out of it, we were, Play Rough was traveling. We were in Fargo, North Dakota. And when we played there, we got to stay at they put us up in a nice place. All the rest of the places were, what you could imagine a broke band staying in.
Sure.
And so we were at this nice place in Fargo. It was right by the Fargo Dome. And I'm walking across the hall from one room to the other, and I look down. It's the Iron Sheik standing down the hall.
Crazy motherfucker.
Yeah.
And I'm going, oh my God. And he's walking towards me, and I'm just standing there, and he drops his bag and sticks his hand out. He goes, "Hey, I'm Sheik." And I was like, "Yeah, I know who you are." And back then, I was skinny, long hair, right? And Iron Sheik, he's funny, right?
Yeah,
crazy dude.
I remember.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Hey, I'm Sheik. Do you have any smoke?" So he's asking me for weed. And so at the time, that band, Play Rough, we didn't, we would drink beer and whatever, but none of us smoked weed, but the crew did.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, hold on a second.
You made his day.
Yo, I need, they're like, I need a joint, but you don't smoke. I know, but it's the Iron Sheik.
Iron Sheik over here.
So that night they actually came to the club.
Yeah.
And so we hung up with Kerry Von Erich.
Oh, cool.
That
very
night.
Cool.
He was like, "Man, I want to get you guys to Texas Jam." And it was just fun,
That's awesome.
man.
The Texas tornado when he hit WWF.
But I got out of it, and then 96 rolls around, Hogan turns heel,
Yeah.
NWO,
Yeah.
and I'm sucked back
Steve
in.
Austin, The Rock.
Yeah, I was a WCW guy.
Yeah.
I was a Nitro guy more than a Raw.
It's probably because you grew up in the territory era.
It was more Southern style. Yeah,
See,
absolutely.
Being from Maine, it was all Vince McMahon, WWF.
That's right.
Cartoon gimmicks.
Yep.
And I came in the late 80s. I was the guy that was, there was this cool video store before Blockbuster, like a little just like local mom and pop video store. And they had this awesome wrestling section. And I would go in there and I'd be like, oh, wow, WrestleMania 1? And it was like a history lesson. I just started digging in. And that's when you're like, oh, he was a bad guy then. Now he's a good guy. Yeah. He's this name. He's that name. And that I'd never really like totally bought in that it was real.
Yeah.
But enough to, lose myself in it, as a kid. Sure. And I just loved it. But of course, I got to go to 2 house shows. My mom took me to 2 house shows, and all 3 in Portland, but 2 house shows and then a Saturday Superstars taping.
Wow.
It was really cool.
That's cool, man.
And got to see Andre the Giant, Jake the Snake Roberts, Hulk Hogan, all the classics, Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
It was awesome. But in the early 90s, 92, and I was like, I just grew out of it.
Same here.
I never got back into it.
Yeah.
Even during the Austin and Rock years and then the NWO, you couldn't help know what was. There was so
Something
mainstream.
was going on, man. Yep.
But it wasn't until about, I don't know, 10 years ago, for whatever reason, I was flipping through Netflix. And at that time, Netflix had just a full run of these awesome old documentaries on Ric Flair. Everyone.
Yeah.
And I was like a kid in the candy store, man. I was like, I couldn't stop binging this stuff. And ever since then, I listened to like Jimmy Cornette, and Kevin Nash has a cool podcast.
This is good.
And the guy that's worked under Vince for all these years.
Bruce Pritchard.
Pritchard.
Yeah.
And I love
Bischoff. Eric Bischoff's is great.
Yeah.
You get to find out the creative, like why did they do what they did?
Oh yeah, and Steve Austin's Broken Skull sessions.
Oh yeah.
So I can't get enough of the behind the scenes because kayfabe was such a big deal.
Yep.
Absolutely. Now that it's all wide open, it's great.
Listening to you guys is
I'm a total geek when it comes to this stuff.
My buddy Jason Ware.
Yeah.
So several years ago, his son he and his son were both into the wrestling thing. And so Jason would call me and say, hey, man, I got tickets to go to the FedEx Forum. Do you and Daniel want to go? And I was, sure, I'll go. And I went. And it's phenomenal. The lighting, the production, everything.
It's a big show.
It's just like everything you always hear. It's nothing like television, and it's not. Right. When you go in person, it's a totally different world.
It is,
and it's amazing. I had a great time going, but I haven't followed the stuff since I was a kid, watching it on Saturday mornings.
If you want to see a place pop, right?
Yeah,
I think it was the SummerSlam that Ultimate Warrior beat Honky Tonk for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, Ultimate Warrior was peaking.
Yeah.
And his music was the best. And that riff kicked in and that place just erupted.
Yeah.
And it seems like that doesn't happen as much now.
Right, right.
It's hard to get an audience to pop like that because back then kids bought into it.
There's an All Elite AEW is really good.
Jim Cornette loves AEW. Anyone that's a fan of Jim Cornette, you know how much he fucking hates that place.
But like when Cody Rhodes was there, I really enjoyed his whole whatever he was doing. I was just like, he's doing good now too. And
he got hurt, which totally derailed it. But he's back now. Yep. I think they're going to make him champion.
I think he's got it now. So
they're going to bring him up. But
we had, even in like 81, 82 at my high school in Owenton, Kentucky, which was like super small, there was a promotion called ICW Wrestling, and Randy Savage, his dad Angelo Poffo, owned it. So Randy was the champ. So he came to our school 3 or 4 times, man, before he even, because then he came to Memphis and then went on to do his deal. But I remember going to see him in my high school gym and just being like, "That's my guy. That's my total favorite of ever. The flying elbow, the whole crazy
Macho Man.
Thing. Oh man,
he was awesome.
Dude,
of course, the legendary match with him and Steamboat.
Oh,
that was WrestleMania 3.
3. Yeah.
Jeff's like, you guys are fucking nerds.
I cannot believe you know what happened in WrestleMania 3. What are we up to now? WrestleMania 100?
Hulk Hogan body slammed Andre the Giant. For the first time, not really. Territories, he body slammed a bunch of times. But that was epic. Again, that was like peak my age. I was just like, when I saw that, I was like, that was the most amazing thing.
Yeah. And Savage and Steamboat, that's like...
And I didn't appreciate that when I was a kid.
But that's like the one that when everyone says, hey, what's your favorite match? Well, that's usually what they'll say.
Yeah, that's the legendary one.
Yeah.
For sure.
Anyway.
The only random sighting I have is years ago, like I was a kid and I think my mother and I were flying to Texas to see my uncle or whatever. And randomly just sitting at the terminal, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Dino Bravo.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, Mom, look. She's like, who?
Oh, tough guy.
Yeah. The classiest baby face ever.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Great.
But
yeah,
like,
dude, I'm a total wrestling nerd here.
So, it's been fun.
Yeah.
No, it is.
I love hearing you guys talk
fascinating
about this.
to me.
No, I do.
It's fascinating. Even now, all these years later, of course, everyone knows it's fake and it's predetermined and everything. But if they tell a good story,
don't tell Jeff.
Don't tell Jeff. But it's just such a cool form of storytelling that's so unique and so different, and it's stayed the test of time. And
I remember when Rocky Balboa threw Hulk Hogan out of the ring.
No, it wasn't Hulk Hogan. It was Thunder Lips, or whatever the fuck his name was.
Thunder Lips. Thunder Lips.
But that put it on the map.
Yeah.
You know, and Vince McMahon knew.
Oh,
like, you know, we got to get these guys out here and like rock and wrestling and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Man, I could talk forever about wrestling.
Same.
All right, Jeff. Now go ahead. You go ahead and you can talk about docking and
no, I'm good.
All kinds of the shit that
I'll talk that too, man. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, dude, man, it was such a pleasure. Nope, wrong song. There we go. Can't forget this song. No, because Jimmy's playing the drums. I'm not going to fade it.
You're gonna crank it. Okay.
Yeah. We got to come up with a name instead of theme song.
Yeah.
What can we call it?
I don't know. I have to figure that out. Get with him and Sean.
That's right. Well, man, Jimmy, this is a blast, man, and we want you again, man. We're going to have you on this thing again. We'll have a good time.
Absolutely.
We'll talk wrestling again.
Yeah, we'll get you and one of the Rubel brothers, because I know they're big fans.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, trust me, because we have them booked together, Chris and Tracy.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely bringing up wrestling with them. And I'm making them bring that belt in.
Oh, yeah, that's coming.
The heavyweight championship.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. We have props here. Wrestling belts, rock and roll cabbage candles.
We got a bucket of gimmicks up in
Lots
here.
of bucket of gimmicks. There you go.
Well, all right, Jeff, let's talk about where people can find us here.
Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher. Yeah, turn that down. I feel like I'm yelling at everybody.
What are you talking about?
Apple. But yeah.
6 p.m. Monday, 6 p.m. Central every Monday. YouTube and Facebook, you get the full video.
Yep.
And then overnight, I release the audio version, so it's there ready for you in your morning coffee and the walk with your dog. So check it out, and it's great. We love you to come to YouTube, but it is fascinating to see the kind of reach and engagement we're getting on Facebook. It's fantastic. Keep it coming.
Thank you to people like Donna Fulp and Jimmy Fulp for supporting this thing as much as you do.
Yeah, taking it.
That's awesome.
Wait a minute.
Let's hear it.
Whoa! I'm gonna call my iPad the iPad of gimmick sounds, because it's so hack. I mean, I did that episode. A couple of weeks ago, we did the dad jokes, trying to be goofball. And he's like, I got 3 or 4 different people say, dude, those were awful. I'm like,
man.
What do you expect?
Well, it was I thought that was the point.
Exactly.
Right. And then you follow it with this.
Yeah.
I'm really supposed to take that seriously?
Look, the day that the dad jokes are supposed to actually be good, I gotta step out.
If I want to hear good comedy, I'll go watch Bill Burr or something.
Right.
Yeah.
But awesome. Linktree. Check out our Linktree in the description. That will take you to all of our platforms. Bridge. We've never made it to the bridge before.
We never have.
Awesome. Now. Patreon. Come support our friend right here, Jimmy Fulp, is a patron.
That's right.
Did your wife sign in too?
I think we just did one.
Yes,
but maybe we need to add another.
Dead to me. No, dude, it's awesome though. We appreciate it. And then go to subheroproductions.com if you want to support a small business check it out. Sign up for that free consultation, and we would love to talk to you about that. Jimmy, thanks again, man.
Yeah,
it was a blast.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll do it again, sir.
Yeah, let's do it.
Absolutely.
All right, y'all. You have a great day. Thank you.
See ya.